Thanks. Certainly excited today, as I am every day. I think you could hit repeat on every time we've had this signing day press conference because we get our new kids coming in, and I'm really excited about this class. Obviously, it started long before this time last year. We're really confident in our evaluations. We do a thorough job. I think somebody told me on here, I was looking at this before I came out here, I think 24 of maybe 28 or 29 guys worked out on our campus with our coaches. 25 of 28 guys were multi-sport athletes, 13 different states, number one player in maybe 4 or 5 different states. But more important than all that is the kind of kids they are. I'm excited to get them to come in and work. We've got, I really don't know, 8 or 9 guys here working with us that are competing, and hopefully more to come mid-year. I think it's somewhere like 23 guys coming mid-year, which seems to be the trend in all of college football, which is important because you cannot develop players if you don't have them here. You can't practice to develop the other players if you don't have enough depth here. So we have really gone with the model of going through the high school ranks, developing players. The way it's looking right now is somewhere around 40%, maybe 50%, maybe even 60% of our roster next year will be in the first 2 years of the program. And that's you got to have spring practice, you got to have development to do that. But a lot of credit goes to our staff. Our coaches have done a tremendous job in what is a extremely difficult time. But most of our class was done. I think this might have been the earliest class we've ever had. The numbers committed, and really proud of them. And I look forward to kind of indoctrinating these guys into our culture and getting them better. So I guess that's it. We'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned that evaluation process, particularly with the quarterback position. What are some of the physical and intangible traits you guys are looking for, and where does Ryan Puglisi stand on all of those?
Yeah, the physical traits are size, speed, intelligence for the intangible traits, character, what the kid's makeup is, the velocity with which he throws the ball. We've had guys that can throw it hard and guys that can't throw it hard. They've had different levels of success. Well, the common denominator for us has been intelligence, ability to create and extend plays. So we look at all those things. And he came down here, Ryan came down here, I bet 5 or 6 times, and he checked the box every time for the right kind of kid, the right kind of competitor. He's embraced the part about learning. I think he sees himself as a guy that needs to come in and develop under a system, and he's seen Carson's success, so I think he understands that, and he wants to grow and get better. So quarterback is the leader of the team and leader of your class, and he's a really intelligent, fun kid to be around. He's been out here at practices competing. He's got a really live arm, another one of these baseball guys that can catch it and get it out really fast, which I think is important in today's day and age.
Would you say Carson's decision to come back for another year had an effect on the number of quarterbacks you ended up signing today, and do you anticipate signing any more through the next year?
I don't think Carson's decision had any impact on our quarterback recruiting situation. I think a lot of independent variables there that we felt pretty good that Carson was coming back the entire time. He's communicated with us. He did his research and certainly had options, but he communicated that he wanted to grow and continue to get better, and so he made that choice. What was the second part of that, Chip?
Was whether you would still need to sign another quarterback between now and the next period?
Yeah, that's something we have to think long and hard about. Our hard number is 4. We want to be at 4, and we're not at 4. So again, we'll look at our options and see what we can do there. We would like to be at 4, though. That's our goal.
Coach, you mentioned the various states that you had the number one player in across the board. Was that by design that you wanted to go out of state or expand the reach, or is that just how it shook out this year?
No, you go where you go. I mean, you go find the players. A lot of times it's their interest level in us. We don't target states and say we got to get one from this state or that state. I love getting kids from the state of Georgia. If I could sign every kid from the state of Georgia, I would love to do that. I mean, that'd be great. it's not realistic. I mean, it's just not. Some years our state provides us speed, athleticism. Some years it supplies us size, and some years it doesn't have a good. I don't know what the right word is. It doesn't have maybe a sample size of that position. So you got to go search outside that, and we usually know that long before now. So for the 25 class, we can tell you the strengths of the state. Just like these guys, I call GMs all the time. They're like, hey, this is a great linebacker class, but it's not a great corner class in the draft. And same thing for us in our state. So we know what we got to go out and look for outside that. And you know, we don't look at where you're from. We look at who you are, how you compete, how do you behave when you're here, what do people say about you, what your makeup is. And I could really care less whether they're number one in their state or number two in their state. I care a whole lot more about how they behave when they get here and do they buy into our culture. Because I don't think the rankings matter. I really don't think they matter.
Yeah, what are you getting in the wide receivers you brought in, Nitro Tuggle, Scotty White, and if you can talk about them, Lennon Humphreys, I'm not 100% sure if you can yet.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about all those guys. Certainly, you know, you build your wideout room through high school. We feel like we should build every room through our high school, but over the last, I guess, 2 to 3 years, we've gone into the portal and been able to get some experienced wideouts. I think that's critical. I do think you can play early in college football at wideout. I think people have proven that. George proved it. AD proved it. Jermaine proved it. They all proved it. You can go out. Dylan Bell proved it. You can go out and play as a freshman. But it's nice to get some SEC experience in the 2 guys we got last year. We need more depth at receiver. It's a position that we're thin at, and that we've got to have enough people to surround Carson with to create weapons.
Kirby, was there anything, I guess surprise is probably the wrong word, but you talked about how you've been communicating with guys about their plans, who was going in the portal, who wasn't. Was most all of that settled, or is it fair to say that all that's settled right now in terms of knowing who's going to be on your roster and who may be leaving?
I don't know that I can say it's settled. I mean, you don't know that. Like I certainly don't know when guys make decisions, they make them. I mean, the window is what the window is, so those guys have those opportunities. I think for us, we had conversations long before the SEC championship. We meet before the season, we meet during the season, we meet during the bye week, and then we meet again after the SEC championship. So probably about 90% of those guys, that conversation had already happened. I think everybody in the country will tell you have surprises, and you guys can probably figure out who those are, and you know, they make decisions that they think fits what they need, and I respect that. That's the rules we have, and that's what we abide by. So, I mean, I feel good about the group we have, and I'm really worried about the guys that are here, and not the ones that aren't.
Yeah, Kirby, one of the things that jumps out is just the size of the offensive line class y'all are bringing. Just what stands out most to you about those 6 guys and what they can bring to Athens, and maybe the importance of getting them enrolling early on campus.
Yeah, Collier Madaleno is going to need a raise because she's in charge of our nutrition, and she's got her work cut out for her based on some of these weights that are probably not even accurate, to be honest. I mean, let's call it what it is. Some of these guys are too heavy, and they'll be the first to say it. They think heavy is good, but how many 350 plus offensive linemen have started at Georgia that y'all know of? I can't think of one. I can't think of one guy that's been 350 plus. I can't think of a guy that's been 345 plus. So whatever they are, they're going to have to reel it in to be successful. So everybody can print all the big is better they want, but if they don't lose weight, they won't play. And that's the key is, are they wired the correct way to lose the weight? I was just talking to a couple guys out there at practice that, you know, Ernest Green came in here at 355, and Ernest Green was at 320 by the first snap of spring ball. So, you know, he was committed to a process, and that these guys will have to be too.
Kirby, what's the short version of everything that you all and your staff did with KJ Bolden from when he committed until today?
I mean, we did what we do on every kid. I mean, we recruited. I met KJ Bolden and his mom his 9th grade year in the indoor and sat and talked to him for 45 minutes and just had a great appreciation for her and him. He was a young kid then, and He actually had worked out at our campus a wideout, and we knew that he was a really talented young man. And from that point on, I mean, I bet he's been on this campus 20 or 30 times between coming over here for different events and 7-on-7s, but there was no different recruitment for KJ. It was just consistent and a mutual respect, probably is the right word. You know, I reached out to him when he committed elsewhere and just told him had a lot of respect for him and we weren't going to stop recruiting him and that we thought this was the best place for him. And I've always learned, Andrew Thomas's parents taught me that consistency is the key, and we were very consistent every time he was here. And then you know what? It worked out. It doesn't always work out, but it worked out in this case, and we're not going to change our method we go about things.
Coach, obviously looking at the secondary group, you mentioned KJ Bolden, a couple of the other guys. A lot of those guys played offense and defense. How important is that to that position group in particular? And, just what are your overall thoughts of this group overall?
The secondary group,
Yeah, secondary.
oh, it's fast. I mean, they'd go out and run a 4x1 team and probably win a national event because they can fly. They all got good speed. DeMelo's a track guy, can run. Andre Evans can run. Ellis can run, and KJ runs track and can run. They're all four got great speed. They all four have really good length. I think the wingspan on Ellis and those guys is extremely long. They're all tremendous character kids. I mean, like they're fun to be around. DeMelo is a fun guy to be around. Those other guys are fun guys to be around. And they'll have growth to do. They'll have to grow up, but we're in need at that position. We're under our what I call our quota. We're under our quota there, and they're going to get thrust into some opportunities to get to go out there and play and compete. But they all have toughness. They all have speed. I saw KJ play one night, and he had a defensive touchdown, a kickoff return touchdown, a running touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. And I don't know that I've ever witnessed that and seen something like that in person because he's a dynamic player.
You mentioned a few surprises in the transfer, the number of players some of the players that transferred. Is there any concern on a large number like that? Is that just the nature of where we're at in college football now, or do you worry about the message it sends if that a lot of guys headed out this year?
No, I mean you don't control that. You don't control that. What you do control is who you bring in here. You don't control what goes out. So our messaging has been all along, let's get the right guys in here. And this group we just signed, I'm a lot more worried about the retention. And when I look at last year's class, I think it's 2 or 3 out of last year's class. That would be more concerning for me than, the portal is a good thing. Let's don't make it a negative. If you've been in a program for 3 years and you're not playing, and you don't feel like you're going to play, or you don't feel like you're being developed, and it doesn't look great, you might need to look somewhere else. And that's a okay thing, okay? It's when you're first year and you're doing that, it becomes a little bit, more alarming. Why did you go there in the first place? You never really gave it a chance to grow. So I evaluate the portal based on that, not the total number. I mean, the total number to me it's just not relevant because the day and age we're in, kids feel like the grass is greener, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. We don't control those decisions.
Kirby, what are your early impressions of these December enrollees and just what you've gotten seen since they got on campus?
They're lost. They're overwhelmed. They're high character. They're very intelligent. They're hardworking. They're out of shape. They're winded. They're enamored, but they won't be in the spring. So I can't wait to coach them.
You guys signed Justin Williams and Joseph Jonah-Janye from the same high school. How big of an impact can that have to be comfortable with somebody like that that's in your class, and what stands out to you about those two defensive players?
Size, speed, length. They both have tremendous length and extremely high character. I mean, Justin, I've not been around many kids in a meeting like Justin Williams. This kid had everybody in the country recruiting him, throwing things at him, and doing all kinds of stuff. And he never blinked. He was like, "I'm coming to Georgia. I want to be a linebacker at Georgia. This is my plan." Very intentional about everything, and his GPA is above a 4.0. I mean, just incredible. And Joseph is his teammate who has an incredible story. And has really feeling a need. We've gone 2 years without signing a solid like DN. You know, he and Justin Green are two solid what we call ends, big ends. So Mike Hill and Ty's position, and we need some help there. So both those two guys are going to help us fill a role.
Coach, a non-signing day question, is it just, obviously this is a little different this year than the last 2 years. Is it strange to be preparing for a game that's not a playoff game? And is that just, what's that experience been like after what y'all did the last 2 years?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's strange to us because we're in the same routine. You know, you could say it might not have the same. We've tried to make it the same sense of urgency, but there's times that you have to step back and look and take a deep breath and say, we're getting these guys better. We're working really hard. We're buying in. The leadership on this team has been absolutely incredible, because what I hear from other coaches about these type games, it's been a nightmare for them. It has not been a nightmare for us. We got dudes out there practicing that this is their last go round, and I've told them the next time that about 15 or 20 of you guys are practicing, you're going to be trying to make a roster, and you only have about 10 to 15 practices to make a roster spot in the NFL. So use these practices to help you make a roster and get better, because your guy you're competing against, he might not be getting to practice for a bowl game, and they want to finish on top. There's a lot of them that want to walk off that field for the last time on the winning side, and there's a lot of competitive character. So it is different, but it's not for like the coaching staff. We're going to go up there and meet and do the same thing we were doing if we were playing in the playoffs. It's a routine for us.
Kirby, 3 running back class. Dell talked earlier in the year that part of that was getting to scholarship quotas, I guess you would call it. What were you trying to accomplish with this running back class, and what have you seen from the 3 guys that you brought in?
Yeah, they complement each other. You know, they're very different. You know, you got the James Cook, Zamir White, the Sony Nick complementary package there, and Dwight's completely different altogether. I mean, he is very unique skill set, very elite skill set, but how we use him will be very important, because he's not, you know, just a normal back. He can do a lot of things. He can create a lot of matchup nightmares, and we don't think he's even seen his full potential. And the other 2 kids are complement each other really well and give us big backs. You know, all 3 of those guys run sub 1100 meters, which sub 11 is rolling, and they're big, and so we feel really good about those guys.
Kirby, I know you're big on each year to its own, but you've got some program streaks here with the 6 bowl wins and the 6 straight top 10 finishes. And is there an awareness of the players in terms of maintaining that standard, 1, and then 2? I'd ask you, as far as the portal goes, you've said before, you know, that you'd have to be more aggressive this year maybe than in past years. Is it safe to say that there's still work to be done in these last couple of weeks there in terms of additions?
2 very different questions. Are we bringing up the bowl streak? Probably not. We have talked about the seniors have an opportunity to be the winningest group of seniors ever. The way we've calculated the math, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but we're 1 away from beating last year's group. So it's really critical to me that we do that. That's a motivating factor. I don't think the streak as much is a factor, because sometimes you don't control that, and they weren't part of some of those games. As far as being active in the portal, it's like grocery shopping. You can't go get groceries unless you know what you have at home, you know, and that's the hardest part of the timing of everything. You know, you say, well, you know what you got on your team. Well, you don't technically, because it's not over. So we have to be careful that we don't get more bottled water than we need. We got to get more bread to match up with our sandwich meat. I mean, we can't go about it that way. You can't go out there and get all this and then you need this. So that's the hardest part, is not knowing. And the really hard part is a lot of the kids you're getting pressured in the portal to make a decision, and they're getting pressured into saying, you know, you got to take this, you got to take that, and the window is just, you know, so wide that it's hard to know what you're going to have.
Let's take 2 more questions.
Yeah, KJ Bolden was very complimentary of Fran Brown in terms of helping him, you know, come to Georgia, and then Fran repaid it to you, complimenting you and Will Muschamp. What kind of impact did he have on this class? And then as a follow-up, you guys hired Dante Williams. What did you see in him to make you want to bring him into this program?
Yeah, Fran was unbelievable. First of all, he came here with a purpose. He told every kid he recruited he wanted to be a head coach. He said, I want to be at Georgia until I'm a head coach. and I want to be a head coach. And if I get to be a head coach, then I'm leaving Georgia, but I'm going to leave Georgia in a better place than I found it. And he did everything he said he was going to do, and we did everything we said we were going to do in terms of preparing him for that and giving him a pedigree of a national championship and a way to run the program. So it was a very smooth transition. He communicated very well to the guys he helped recruit, but it wasn't like he lied to any of them. He told them all. Every one of them said, yep, he told us when he got a head job he was going to go, and he said that, you know, you and Coach Muschamp were going to be in the secondary with us. And so then we went out and looked for what we needed, and we really built. We said we want somebody that can develop and teach corner play, because Coach Muschamp and I work hard with the safeties, and we want somebody that can form relationships like Fran. And Fran was a very relationship-driven person. He spent a lot of time communicating with kids, not just KJ, but a lot of kids, and he formed solid relationships, and we wanted somebody that could do those same things. And I'll tell you, has proven he can do that. He's a really good football coach.
On those players that Fran recruited, what stands out to you about the corner, specifically Ellis, because I know those two had a long relationship?
What stands out about Ellis? His length, his character, his family. His parents made sacrifices. You know, they sent their son to IMG to grow and get better. And I don't know if he's the person he is and the player he is if he doesn't go down there and go against the best in the country. He played with Dalen. He played with all those kids. I mean, he basically has been in college for 2 to 3 years. And he is a wonderful, wonderful kid who he has high expectations, and we have high expectations, but he's going to work to get better and develop within our program. So we're very excited to have him.
Thank you.